Hey everyone, welcome back to a very special edition of Canadian Gamers. Today we're going to do what we always do around this time of year, which is we're going to talk about our Game of the Year. Well, more precisely, our Game of the Year awards. So Steven's got his list, I've got my list, and, well, we typically do, like, one of us will do, like, say, 10, then the other person will do their 10 and 9, and then the other guy does 9 and 8, and so on and so forth. Something like that. So you want to start this?
Yeah, alright, so I'll start with my 10, and then you'll go ahead.
Yep.
Alright, so, for me, at number 10, I was debating between Dragon Quest VIII and Dragon Quest XI. And I opted to go with Dragon Quest VIII simply because that's the one I played the most out of the two, and I actually beat that one. I think it's Journey of the Cursed King, right?
Yep.
That's called.
That's right.
And it's for the 3DS, and you'll see that there are a lot of games in there that weren't originally released in 2017, but I don't give no craps about that. As long as it was released on a system this year, it counts for me. So, Dragon Quest XI, I almost counted it because I had, but I ended up, like I said, going with Dragon Quest VIII instead, and it was a really nice remake. I did not enjoy it as much as 7 last year, but still, Dragon Quest VIII really deserving of your time if you have a 3DS.
That's amazing. Well, before I start with my number 10, I actually have an honorable mention. And it was actually probably going to be my number one game, but I have to mention A Jared to the Past. This was one of the best games ever made. You can tell that like at least a solid 3 hours went into the development of it. And for those that haven't seen it or have no idea what I'm talking about, there were two incredible games that Steven made this year. There was A Jared to the Past and A Jared Between Worlds. Both of them I have full Let's Plays. They're like a shocking one episode each. It will change your life if you see these particular games. So those, I guess it's like a 1-2 punch for my honorable mentions. I just had to. I had no choice. They were just slightly beaten by these other games. All right.
I'm kind of disappointed that they're not higher, but
I'm sorry. So, number 10, this is kind of interesting. I actually looked through, and I only played 14 games this whole year. And I was like debating back and forth, and I'm going to be really honest with you guys because I'm kind of curious to see where Steven puts some of this stuff. So, number 10, I was going to select, I deleted the thing. I think it was Blaster Master Zero, but I was like, no, I'm going to put Metroid Samus Returns instead. And the reason why I wanted to do that was it's an okay game. It's really not the best game, but considering I only played 14 games this whole bloody year, of all the games that I played, I was like, no, it deserves to be on here. If for nothing else, then it was a new Metroid game, and it was really nice to go back to that universe. Like, it was really, really nice to just experience Metroid again, even though, you know, like if you watch my review, I critiqued the hell out of it. But it was nice to go back and, you know, feel that ambiance, that isolation, have that music, the great use of 3D, and so on and so forth. And I think, honestly, it's going to probably be like the last big 3DS game that I can think of anyways that makes use of 3D. It's like every other 3DS game these days doesn't even have 3D. So I thought that was pretty cool. So That's my number 10, and now I'm jumping to number 9, right? All right, so number 9 is your number 10, is Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King. I put in, well, I'd have to actually boot up my 3DS, but I put in way more time than I should have into that game. Let's just say that. I literally destroyed the living hell out of it. I did everything. All the post-game content, the new, what was it? The Labyrinth of Time, or I forget what it was, but anyways, whatever. Just everything you could imagine, all the super bosses. I even was logging in every single day at the beginning there to find out like when were they going to release like Erdrick's sword and all that jazz. And I'm a huge fan of Dragon Quest. I don't know if anybody knows that, but it was really great. You unfortunately didn't get into it as much as I did. But yeah, that came out in what, like January or February or something, didn't it?
I think it was the 20th of January.
Yeah, so I like, it was a great way to start the year. It really was, and just absolutely loved it. And yeah, so that was my number 9.
Star 10 and 9. My number 9 is Metroid: Samus Returns. We've talked so much about this game. I don't really know what to add much. Like I've said before, I think this was a bad Metroid game. But even a bad Metroid game is a very good game, and it was really nice to go back and play a Metroid, 2D Metroid, for the first time in years. So I remember the first 10 hours of that game, like I was having such a blast that I thought originally that this would rank way higher for me, but eventually I forced myself to actually beat this one. It just didn't resonate, and I have no interest in ever going back to this, sadly. So still deserving of a top 10 list, but for a Metroid game I was a bit let down by that. And at number 8 I have The Binding of Isaac. I think it was called Afterbirth Plus. I think this is a 2012 or 2013 game, but it was the first time it was released on the Switch this year, and it was the first time I played this, and I just couldn't believe how awesome this game was. This is basically a twin stick shooter with Zelda elements, and it's also a roguelike dungeon crawler, so it's simply amazing. I love those type of games. I love the fact that it's hard but fair. I know some people say that there's a lot of luck, and that's true, but it's mostly skill based, which I liked, and it just keeps on going. Every time you beat a boss, you unlock another boss, and it keeps on going, and it's really, really hard to get to the true ending, and that's what I like about this game. And I put over 20 hours into that game, and it's still, I think, one of the Switch games I played the most this year, and I couldn't recommend it enough.
Yeah, it's funny you mention what you did about Metroid, because I was in the same boat where I was like, I was sure that was going to score a lot higher than it did, but alas, it did not, which is really, really unfortunate. But anyway. As for my number 8. My number 8 is a little bit different, but similar to your Binding of Isaac story there. I didn't get into Binding of Isaac as much as I thought I was going to. It's fun, but it just didn't hook me for whatever reason. But what did hook me was a game that you got me for the Switch, which was Cave Story Plus. That is an amazing game. Have you had a chance to play that?
No, I didn't.
Well, it is a glorious game, and
I played it on the 3DS, however, so I imagine it's pretty much the same game.
Probably. But yeah, really, really good game. Just an all-around superb game, and well, that was my number 8. If you haven't played it, you should go play it. For those that are listening, there's a bunch of updates for it. There's even different characters. There's just a wealth of content to the game. So I would highly recommend checking out Cave Story Plus. And you'll notice something interesting this year, and it's got a lot to do with my particular gaming taste at the moment. Just about every single game on my list is for a Nintendo system, which was really, really interesting. This is like probably one of the first years in a long time where something like that has happened to me. Like, this actually could have been, at least for me, this could have been an episode of Nintendo Fanboys, because really, with the exception of one game, everything else is on a Nintendo system. So
same here.
So that's really, I'm pretty sure it's the same game. Okay, so number 7. This is gonna probably surprise some people anyways, but Dragon Quest Heroes 2. Now, this one's interesting because I actually played the game on 2 different platforms. So I played the bulk of it on the PlayStation 4, but I also got my hands on much, much later on the combo pack for the Switch. And yeah, it was certainly like a dumbed down, I guess, experience on the Switch, but it was still very cool to be able to play that on a portable, and you still do have the same experience. It's just that there was a lot of slowdown and things of that nature. So that was a little bit disappointing, but in terms of the game itself, it was fantastic. I really, really had a good time with that. Again, did not everything. That was one of those games where I didn't get a chance to do absolutely everything, because the very end has a lot of like grinding for the monster coins and stuff like that, and you have to purchase all the accessories and whatever. And I was like, no, I'm not doing any of that crap. But I did all the different quests and all of that jazz, and I had a really, really good time with it.
All right, since you mentioned honorable mentions earlier, I want to quickly mention 3 PlayStation 4 games that I'm sure could have made this list if I would have had actually time to play them this year, which I South Park: The Fractured Butthole, Resident Evil 7, and Mass Effect Andromeda. All 3 of those games are from series I'm a huge fan of, and unfortunately I never got a chance to play those, so just wanted to mention that before everybody called me a Nintendo fanboy, which I know I am, but still, that's why I only have one PS4 game on here. Alright, my number 7 is a game that I really enjoyed, surprised me, because I never thought I would enjoy it as much as I did, and that's, I know everybody will think that's high for this game, but that's Super Mario Odyssey. I never really was a fan of 3D platformers, but I enjoyed the heck out of this one, had a blast, and every day I had to play it until I completed it and simply could not stop. Just an awesome game that I know will be quite high on your list and will probably win Game of the Year for many people. And for me at number 6, I have Golf Story. We did a review on this. This simply is a cannot miss game. It plays like it's a golf game with RPG elements, but really I describe this as a strategy RPG, and it's kind of a strategy element to an otherwise really.
Well, that's kind of funny, man, because I have a very similar game for my number, what am I, 6, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, for my number 6, it is the exact same game. Golf Story is my number 6. Same thing. This was a game that literally surprised the bejesus out of me. I did not expect whatsoever for the game to be as enjoyable as it was. I put in way more hours than I ever thought possible for a golf game, and I finally finished the game off like 30,000 feet up on the plane. And when I finished it, going to Austin, Texas, or coming home, or whichever it was, I remember like sitting there going like, man, there really is something pretty awesome about this Switch system, and I've done this before, of course, with the 3DS and with the, with all the other like portable systems before. But what was so cool with it was like I was switching between playing like The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and like Golf Story, and I was like, this is so messed up and so cool at the same time. So that's my number 6. Now, my number 5 is the game that I'm the most disappointed with on this list, and for a reason that you'll understand in 2 seconds. And it's Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. And why am I disappointed? Well, I'm not disappointed with the game at all. The fact is that I'm having a blast with it, but I'm about probably like halfway through the main story now. I'm just coming off of the second island, and I'm disappointed because I wanted to finish it prior to doing this particular, show, and I'm sure it would have inched its way higher on my list. But as such, as where it is right now, I didn't feel comfortable, knocking out my top 4, only because like I don't know, like what if it starts, I don't know, to drag on, or I don't enjoy it or whatever. So I was a little disappointed with that. And you reminded me of something. There was one other game that I called like a missed opportunity here on my list, and that's Uncharted Lost Legacy. It marks the first time I have not played an Uncharted game when it came out, and it was just because like if it was on Switch, I could have done that. But because I had to, stay seated in one location to play the game, that it just wasn't it wasn't feasible. So anyways, yeah, so that's my number 5, which is probably going to be your like number 1 or 2, but we shall see.
You did the same thing last year with Pokemon Sun and Moon. I think you charted it third.
Yeah.
Because you had not finished it yet, so.
Yeah, it sucks,
it's
man.
Interesting. All right, for me at number 5, I have Stardew Valley.
I knew it.
You knew it was number 5.
No, I knew it was going to be like high on the list, though.
The game is incredible, and shame on you, Jared. Shame on you for not giving it a proper chance. But it's because it is on Switch. You don't have an excuse.
I do. I have lots of excuses. There's so many other games out.
60 hours into that game, and I've stopped playing it now. But there was recently an update to it, which just basically fixed a lot of bugs. So I don't think it actually adds much to the game, but still, I want to try it a bit. And I know this is a game that I will stop playing for a while, and then in a few months I'll just quickly get back into it and pick off right where I left off and have a blast. This is my type of game. I like the Animal Crossings, the Harvest Moons, the games like that of this world, and this is just that. But there's just so much stuff to do in this game. It's incredible. I can't believe that this game was made by one guy. Like it's I can't even. Stardew Valley, if you've never played it, please do. It's an amazing game, especially on the Switch, guys, since you get any opportunity. And at number 4, I have another game that you didn't play because you're a monster, and that is Ever Oasis. But you're not the only one. Nobody played that game, and it's a shame because that is one of the best games on a 3DS, and I know that in years from now it will be one of the hidden gems on the system. It's, again, like I said, it was made for me. It's kind of like, it has all the Harvest Moon and Animal Crossing simulation aspect, but it also mixes in dungeon crawling and a pretty decent storyline. I won't lie, like I really enjoyed this. It's not like an adult Final Fantasy storyline. It's more like cutesy stuff, but with a surprising ending that really caught me off guard. And I just love the fact that you need to constantly recruit characters and stuff like that. It's just a charming game, really awesome. I guess it's a action RPG that I put over 45 hours in and loved every minute of it.
You're crazy, man. You're crazy. Let's see. Okay, so my number 4 is a very, very, very fun game that I actually just recently finished, which was Super Mario Odyssey. Had a really good time with this one, so much so that I got all 999 moons. And again, that is something that there's no chance in hell I ever would have been able to do that. Like that never would have happened if I would have had to have played the game connected to the TV at all times. It would have been impossible. So I really had a good time with that. I liked Cappy, I liked the mechanics, and I liked the fact that the platforming got more and more challenging, especially if you beat the game and you go back for like some of the more advanced moons. Now, it wasn't a perfect Mario, that's for certain. I found a little bit like there was a little bit too many moons, but I really liked the fact that it felt like Super Mario 64 2. Like it really harkened back to that time, and I don't know, I thought it was a really, really special game. All right, number 3 is my PlayStation 4 game, my only PlayStation 4 solo game, which was Horizon Zero Dawn. I thought that was an absolutely incredible game. Came out right at the same time as The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and, well, it came out a little earlier, but just a phenomenal open world game where I really wanted to explore every nook and cranny of this world and see, like, well, how did, like, civilization fail, essentially? That's what it looked like. And just a breathtaking game. I haven't played the expansion that was recently released because, like I said, time is my number one enemy right now. But if you haven't had a chance to play Horizon Zero Dawn, go ahead and do it. It's an incredible game if you like open world games. Even if you don't like open world games, at no point did I ever feel sort of overwhelmed. I like the fact that they ease you into things, and it's also one of the most stunning looking games of the whole generation. Just an all around an incredible game.
Interesting. So I can't wait to see which one is your number one, because I know what your last two games are, and I have a feeling I know what the number one is, but we'll wait. And Ultra Moon. I actually did something that I've been taught now, and I did get. It's not like Dragon Quest, because when you download a Pokemon game since the 3DS generation in English, so you really don't miss out on anything. So there was no reason to maybe discipline myself, because this is as awesome as Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is. It's still pretty much the same game as last year. So that's why I decided to be a bit more reserved with this and put it at number 3. But honestly, this will be the game besides Sun and this year. And it's funny because I'm 50 hours in. I've put over 300 hours into of new stuff. It's a lot of fun. I really like, and I can't wait to do my review on that, especially when we do our review together. I really like how they fleshed out the characters in this one. It really. And I also like the story twist, and some of these characters actually change because of that. So it's an awesome game. I can't wait to do our spoiler review, because I have a lot to say about this game that I don't want to spoil right now. All right, so obviously you know what my last two games are, and I was debating which one should be number one, because I have Horizon and Zelda left, obviously. And for me, both these games have their shortcomings, and both these games have their pros. So for have with Horizon is not the game's fault, is that it was released 3 days before Zelda, and I had to basically we got an early copy of the game, so I was able. And I, in my situation right now with 2 kids, at the time of Horizon, I only had 1 kid, but the other one was like a month or a month and a half forthcoming. So I was rushed, and I know that Zelda, I would have the advantage of playing it kind of portably, because on my Wii U I could plug it on the wall and play it in the toilet and whatnot, and that's what ended up happening with Zelda. But still, I had a blast with Horizon. So the storyline in particular, I know there was one story aspect of the game that we disagreed on, that was a real bummer for me, that we discussed in the in our review, but still I had a blast with this game. I don't know why. I'm not sure. I wasn't sure which to put number one. And with Zelda, I think Zelda I would have played even more if I would have gotten my Switch on day one when that game came out. Because the problem with Zelda is that I think I put over 60 hours into it and did a lot of stuff. But once I beat Ganon, I did not really feel like continue playing, because it was a hassle to continually move my Wii U around, keep plugging it in different walls, and because I wanted to play it on the go, because it's really hard to play any console games when Elliot is awake, because he wants to play Rocket League, or he wants to play with the Wii U or my Switch or my 3DS right now, and he's only 2, is about to be 3 in like 20 days, and he's gonna break stuff like I've discussed before. I already bought a dock for my Switch because he spilled water in the original, so I had to buy another one. So Zelda, I feel that I did not get to enjoy to the potential it has, because I did not get a Switch on day one. With a Switch, I think I would still be playing it today, and I think I would have gotten all the DLC, and I think I would be excited for the Champion of Ballads and stuff like that. But unfortunately, I did not play it on the right platform. So the shortcoming with Zelda is that I don't think it has, well, I don't think it doesn't have that great of a story. Like, it starts strong, and I thought it would go somewhere else, and then at the end it kind of falls flat, and that's, compared to Horizon, it doesn't really hold Horizon. But then again, I feel like I had a lot more fun playing Zelda than Horizon, because I remember when I got Zelda, that's all I could think of. Anytime I was at work, or anytime I was playing hockey, or whatever the hell I was doing, I wanted to be playing Zelda. I just was hooked to that game, It's a fantastic game, and that's why it's going to be my number one, and Horizon will be my number two this year. So I'm actually doing 3 picks in a row, but I thought I had to explain it in this way. Horizon, still a fantastic game that I hope one day when my kids are older that I can go back to and restart from the beginning, try to enjoy it a lot more and do everything else instead of rushing through it and beating it in like 15 hours, I think I did. And Zelda, sadly, I don't see going back to it anytime soon, simply because my save file is on my Wii U and on my Switch is like 4 hours long, and it's hard for me right now to play anything. And especially if a new Pokemon game comes out in 2018 or early 2019, it's going to be hard for me to go back to Zelda one of these days. But still, both fantastic games, and Breath of the Wild, I think that's the reason why it's here.
Very good, very good. So, for me, my number two is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That was...
I knew it, actually. That's what I knew. I knew what your number one is.
Well, don't spoil
I didn't want to, but anyway.
Yeah, come on, man. You're going to ruin my mojo here. So yeah, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, everything you just said, I mean, is 100% valid. It's 100% true. It's a really brilliant game. I put in 20-something hours on the Wii U, and then I put almost 200 hours on the Switch. And yeah, it's I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just a phenomenal game. It harkened back to the original Zelda game, where story was an afterthought. Now, I agree. I would have appreciated a much better story, but the fact that emphasis was on exploration and just really getting out there, you know, and experiencing the world was really what did it. And I think you did a really good job summing it all up, so I don't really want to go too much more into that. So what's my number one then?
You want me to say it?
Yeah, come on, tell the world.
Mario Sports Superstar.
Exactly. So this year there was nothing like...
No, it's Dragon Quest 11, and I knew it from the beginning that it was because of course it is.
Oh no, really? This is something special. So when Dragon Quest 11 came out or was gearing up for release or whatever, I was super stoked. You all know this. And I mean, I bought like 16 copies of the game. I purchased like all the collectible hardware and stuff. And you know what? I don't regret it at all. It is a phenomenal game. The battle system has many modern like quality of life enhancements that you would expect from a modern day role-playing game. You no longer have to go to churches to save, and there's checkpoints, and there's like all kinds, like I don't want to get into the whole thing. You can watch my review. I played through the 3DS version first. The fact that you have a 2D and a 3D version of the game, then I started up and made it. I'm right at the end of the game on the PS4, but I can't explain why it's my number one until next year when you all play it. But the story is hands down the best I've had of the single-player Dragon Quest games. It's unbelievable. There's stuff that happens that you are just like, wow. And when you beat the game, the big surprise, well, obviously without going into details, is that you get to play Dragon Quest 11-2. And that's not for real, but in other words, the story actually continues, and you get another 30-hour adventure, and it like blew my mind. It absolutely blew my mind what they did. So you have yourself what I consider just like the magnum opus of the Dragon Quest series. I don't see any way they're going to top this. There's so much stuff to do. It ties in so well with Dragon Quest 3 and Dragon Quest 1. You have all kinds of really fun like mini games and side quests and stuff like that. The PS4 version has its own content. The 3DS version has its own content. You can even send a spell scroll from one version to the next. Like honestly, I when I was done with that, when I was done, I sat back and, like I said, I played through the 3DS version first because Steven was like, well, just download it. So I was like, fine, I'll just download it. And I don't know. I'd have to check the timer of how many, like way over 100 hours.
If you wouldn't have listened to me, you would have waited like weeks for the game.
Yeah, when did it finally arrive?
I think it took like a week and a half.
Yeah, so I think, no, you're right. Like, I believe I had already finished the game by the time it had actually arrived, like the main story, and then with the post-game content, that took a while. But one thing, when you guys experience Dragon Quest XI, I've said it so many times, but I can't reiterate this enough. It's not like any of the other ones. The post-game content is not post-game content. Like, you're going to fall in love with some of these characters, and you really have to keep playing after the credits roll. You have to. And the little like awards they give you, I don't want to spoil anything for those that don't know, but they give you like the ultimate award for just beating the game. And I can't say more than that, even though, I mean, you'll know if you do any Google searches or whatever. And the reason why it's number one, because it wasn't going to be. And that's the truth. Like, I did not expect this to be my number one game. But when I was compiling the list, I was like, well, no game this year shocked me as much as Dragon Quest XI did. Like, not even close. As good as Zelda was, as good as Mario Odyssey was, Horizon was, and all the other games I mentioned here, there are things that happened in Dragon Quest XI that just blew me away that I did not expect at all. And a lot of that has to do with the post-game content. Like, Cranberry, which is the lovely lady that plays with me in Dragon Quest X Online, her too. It was amazing to experience someone else who went through the whole game and was just like, holy crap, like you weren't exaggerating, like this is wild. And God, I really hope you guys get to experience this on either platform. I really, really hope both versions of the game get released in North America next year. But right now, I don't know. We were supposed to hear an update, and we haven't really heard jack. So I don't know. I've got my fingers crossed for what is it, PSX? That's this week. So I'm hoping that we hear something about the PlayStation 4 version. But I really also, I hope that the 3DS version comes here. So that's it.
Yeah, that's my fear. I don't think the 3DS is coming here, simply because the 3DS is basically done now, and I've been saying that it wasn't. But Game Freak have told in an interview that Pokemon Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon is their last game for the 3DS, and they're always one of the last developers to go out of the, like, they published Black and White 2 on the DS like a year after the 3DS was out. Like, they're always one of the last developers to go away. So unless Square Enix is willing to publish 11 on the 3DS, like, because I don't think Nintendo will, because I've said before, because of the PS4 cross thing, even though Nintendo doesn't really seem to care that much about that, since it's allowing Minecraft and Rocket League to be cross-play, so maybe it has a chance there, but I don't see it, and that's sad, because I did play over 20 hours. I said before, like, I really enjoyed it. I think I could have actually beaten it if I would have used the method that you told me at the end, and I would have put my AIs on automatic right at the beginning. It would have made things way easier for me. But the other problem is, like, for the storyline, I did not understand anything. Like, I had pretty much zero clue what was going on, and I know that will be fixed if the English version ever comes out, and I'm hoping for the 3DS, because that's the one I would have as much time as I need to play.
Yeah, I really, honestly, I really hope so. And don't forget that there is supposed to be a Switch version that my guess is we're going to get the Switch version next year in Japan. Well, obviously, at this point, it's not coming out now. But I'm thinking...
Yeah, but the 3DS version is so special, man.
I know.
With the old school graphics in the 2D mode.
Yes, I know. I played half the game like that at one point. Like, I kept switching back and forth, and I promised myself I wasn't going to do that. But it was just too cool. Like, it was just for an old school Dragon Quest fan like me, it was so cool to be able to do that, to swap back and forth. I was like, this is freaking awesome, man. But the reason why I mentioned about the Switch version is, like, they've got to do something with that to get people to buy the game again. I mean, they want you to triple dip. There's no question about it. So what are they going to do that's going to convince people to purchase that particular version of the game? And right now, the current rumors are that it's just going to be like a dumbed down version or a simplified version of the PlayStation 4 version of the game. And okay, fine. That seems the most likely, the most, plausible. But at the same time, like, part of me is like, oh man, could you imagine if they did like something else? They can't. There's no way they're gonna have all three versions of the game.
It's gonna be motion controls. It's gonna be that, because that's something the Switch has, and like Japan loves some little things like that. Like, a lot of the new features in Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon are like camera stuff that I'm pretty sure most North Americans won't even bother with, but it's something Japanese culture likes, I believe, like little mini games or stuff like that. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right. Honestly, I think you're right. I think it's going to be something like that. But whatever the case may be, when the Switch version comes here, if the 3DS version does not see the light of day in North America, then at the very least, I'll buy that for you and be like, you have to play this. Like, you just need to experience it. It's such a good game, man. They did such a good job with that.
Which version?
The Switch.
Oh, okay. I thought you forgot that you already bought me the 3DS and PS4.
Yeah,
version.
no. I'm saying if North America, if the North American version does not come out on the 3DS,
I could see the Switch version coming out here, because like right now everybody's trying to put their game on Switch. Final Fantasy 15 is probably going to be announced in January for the Switch. Like, I think they would take a chance with Dragon Quest 11 and have reasonable projection numbers here anyway.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm really, really hoping. So that was that, man. That was a good list this year. And you knew from the very beginning I was going to pick Dragon Quest 11, really?
Of course. Yeah, you've played over 200 hours of that game, and this is your series, man. Like it's crazy. Like, over 100 hours in each version. And then you did the same with Dragon Quest 11, and then played the PS4 version. Of course, I knew this was going to be your number one. It's like me when there's a new Pokemon game. It's almost automatic. Like, Christ, Pokemon Ultra Sun Ultra Moon is number 3 this year for me, and it's the same game as last year, which was my number 1. So we should top 10 and then score ourselves, and the winner gets a lollipop. Yeah.
The winner gets a lollipop. Great! That sounds marvelous. Great. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I've got nothing else. Steven always has so much to say, but we're going to cut him off here and say, what are your top 10 games of 2017? And I'm sure for a lot of you guys, you probably think we're out of our minds for not having like South Park, like Steven said, and other games that were released on other platforms. But that's the beautiful thing of, these types of awards. We get to talk about we get to talk about what we played and what we really enjoyed, but you also get a look into our lives and to get a little glimpse to see how just insanely busy we are and what systems we're sort of playing and why we're playing them and whatever. So leave us a comment and let us know, what were your top 10 games of the year? And with that, I will say that's it for, not for 2017, but at least for Game of the Year stuff, that's pretty much it.